Down that house in Highview full of dangerous chemicals and explosives will move into its second day. And this comes after months of planning. What you're seeing on your screen are some shipping crates. They're being used to create this massive wall around that house on Applegate Lane as trucks and bulldozers also go in and out of that neighborhood.
We are going to go now to Jim Stratman live near that property on Applegate Lane this morning. Jim, lots of work ahead there today, and we're learning for the rest of this week.
Yeah, that's right, Grace. This is a process that could take anywhere from now until 12 days from now. That's what officials are saying. It probably could take another about a couple of weeks before they're able to actually get the house on Applegate Lane fully demolished. You can see behind me some of those shipping containers that Eric mentioned. These are in front of another house, which is next to the house where all of this is centered around. But even further back, it might be hard to see because of the darkness. There is a just wall, probably too high, of shipping containers surrounding that home, creating a barricade so that crews can get in there and work. And this is a very kind of serious situation because of the amount of chemicals and the types of chemicals that were in that home for the longest time. Now, the EPA has been involved in this process for months, working with the city to try to come up with the right plan to demolish this home and dispose of these chemicals. Or initially, the city had planned to do a controlled burn of that home, burn the house at a very high temperature so that it would dissolve those chemicals and eliminate those chemicals without causing an environmental ecological disaster. Now, the EPA stepped in and plans continued to be assessed, and plans did change. Eventually, they found a Kentucky company that agreed to come in and remove some of the chemicals from inside the home and clear the way for the house to be demolished. And that process started yesterday. Metro Council member Jeff Hudson told us that neighbors in this area are just looking forward to being done with this whole ordeal.
2 weeks, once all that's gone, then I think we'll have a sigh of relief. Until then, there's still the hassle of the roads being closed and you know, the noise of the deconstruction. So it's still going to be a hassle for a couple weeks.
The EPA tells us that they'll be releasing more information about the dismantling process coming up on Friday. Now, the owner of that home, Mark Hibble, was arrested back in July after investigators say that he admitted to detonating homemade explosive devices. Now, coming up in the next hour, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the background surrounding this home, the chemicals inside, and Hibble himself. Eric, Grace?
All right, Jim, thank you. Again, we've been following this story now for months. If you'd like to read more about the dangerous chemicals initially found by police inside that house, just go to WHAS11.com and click on this story.
Happening today, one of the suspects in a double murder at a Waffle House in Radcliffe is expected to face a judge. Police arrested 25-year-old Darian McGarry last month after a grand jury indicted him. Court documents show he's accused of aiding in the deaths of 18-year-old Shane Estrada and 30-year-old Carlos Belo. Both were found shot at the Waffle House on Dixie Highway on July 22nd. Days later, police arrested McGarry's co-defendant, Rashawn Bowser Highsmith, who police say was caught on surveillance talking with McGarry about taking a gun from one of the victims. McGarry is facing several charges, including complicity to murder. He's expected in court at 1 this afternoon.
And now to some new video coming out of Israel showing smoke over the Gaza Strip. This morning, Israeli forces continue to bombard the territory with airstrikes and have now positioned themselves along Gaza's border. It's just after 1 p.m. in Israel right now. And today, President Biden will head to the Middle East for a high-stakes meeting with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as the war between the country and Hamas escalates. Biden's agenda includes meetings with the King of Jordan, the President of Egypt, and the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. ABC's Martha Raddatz notes that even though Biden has had several calls with the Israeli Prime Minister, the only way to convince him and leaders inside his circle of peace with Palestine is to meet in person.
The administration has thus far been unable to convince the Israeli hardliners to consider the fate of innocent Palestinians in Gaza, and that they believe the only way to do it is for the president himself to come here.
The United States is also sending a second aircraft carrier to the region in hopes of preventing additional attacks. Some 2,000 U.S. troops are now on alert for a possible deployment to the Middle East to serve in a wide array of roles, including intelligence and medical support. The death toll on both sides has now risen to more than 4,000 people.
And this morning, a Louisville family is back home after being trapped in Israel when Hamas launched its attack. It took Linda Schuster and her family more than 30 hours to get back to Kentucky. They traveled to Israel for the Jewish holiday Shabbat. Halfway through the trip, the fighting broke out and the family took shelter underneath their hotel's parking garage.
We heard bombs the whole time we were there. All I wanted to do was crawl up and go to sleep. But, we finally got home, so that was good.
Major airlines canceled some departures, so the Schusters had limited options to get home. They found separate flights to Budapest, then to Amsterdam. From there, they were able to fly back to the States. There are still thousands of other Americans currently in Israel trying to leave. The U.S. Department of State has chartered a cruise ship to take people out of the country by sea, and charter flights will continue until at least Thursday.
6:07 now. Today's strikes are expected to continue for a 6th day at the Kentucky truck plant here in Louisville. And now we're hearing from Ford leaders who say the company's future is at stake. Bill Ford, the great-great-grandson of Ford's founder Henry Ford, is calling on the UAW to reach a deal. The UAW president said he called for the Kentucky truck plant to strike after Ford gave them the same offer 2 weeks prior. Ford leaders have said if they go farther, they risk the ability to invest in the business.
This is why Ford's ability to invest in the future isn't just a talking point. It's the absolute lifeblood of our company. And if we lose it, we will lose to the competition.
Bill Ford says the UAW and the automaker need to come together to fight foreign automakers, which he calls the real competition. Well, on X, formerly known as Twitter, UAW President Shawn Fain responded by saying, in part, it's not the UAW and Ford against foreign automakers. It's auto workers everywhere against corporate greed. If Ford wants to be the all-American auto company, they can pay all-American wages and benefits.